Hello friends, today we are going to be talking about some amazing things in our topic and a lot of interesting questions. I'm your host Daniel and I'm going to be answering your questions.
I'm your co-host Isaac and I'm going to be answering some of your questions and stuff like that.
Pretty good. And today's show we have some very interesting questions that we received and hopefully we can get some answers directly in Bible Truth. And before we start, we'll have to ask Daniel to start with a word of prayer. Daniel.
Let's pray. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercy. Help us as we are here and as we are going to start this program and answer some questions. Help us for every day of it. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Pretty good, guys. We have some very interesting questions for today. And the first question has to do with something very familiar. I gotta admit, I was very curious to find out about this. And I want to know what you guys think and what does the Bible tell us. What the Bible tells us about this. The first question comes from a young folk, and she is asking, why was the serpent punished? Why was the serpent punished?
I think I can answer that because when Adam and Eve were hiding from God, God knew where they were, but he was just saying, Adam and Eve, where are you? And then they said, we're here, Lord. And then God said, why did you eat the fruit, Adam? And then Adam said, the woman that you gave me gave the fruit to me. Eve, why did you eat the fruit?
And then that's when it
Why
gets interesting too.
And then Eve said that the serpent gave the fruit to her.
Pretty interesting.
And what I have to say about it is because God cursed it because he was not really cursing the snake. He was cursing the snake and all the animals, but he was cursing the devil because the devil kind of hypnotized the snake to do what he told it to do. And it was the most, we think that snake's ugly, gross, like the king cobra and the Mike Mamba. But back in Adam and Eve, when God created it, they were the most beautifulest and craftiest of the field. The snakes. They had hands, they were beautiful, they had nice hands, they had nice eyes, everything about the serpent was perfect.
Yeah.
And why do you think that the serpent was punished? Because now, obviously, evidently, the serpent either used to walk or used to fly because their punish was that they were going to
they
actually...
had to slither on their belly.
Yes.
And they could not fly because they could have wings and they could crawl, but they were like lizards, but then they had to go on their belly. And that was the punishment of God, and there was going to be an entity between the woman and the serpent.
But was the serpent the only animal that quote unquote was punished? Now, didn't also that whole nature was impacted?
The whole nature was impacted in a type of way. When sin came, God cursed the nature. They sinned and God cursed nature, cursed the human race too.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. Pretty interesting. And we know that according to the book of Romans, chapter 8, it tells us too that that nature is waiting anxiously for its liberation when it's actually be free from bondage.
And it's even interesting that it's waiting for its liberation too. So I think brings us to this question. Does anybody have any more comments?
No, I don't think so.
You?
I think we are good for today.
Okay.
I think that was a very good question. The next question that we have actually comes to us, and this question actually has to do with what happens when we die. What happens when we die? What happens when we die?
Well, when you die, it's not like you're sleeping, you're not breathing. So it's like you're not breathing, but you're just sleeping. So when God had the message that when God when Jesus heard that Lazarus was dead, he said to his disciples, Lazarus is sleeping. And then they said, so that's good news. And then God just said it plainly that Lazarus is dead.
And we had this question last time, so let me answer this person's question that when somebody dies, they're really not going anywhere. The dead know nothing. They have no dreams. They don't have no visions.
Yeah.
They're dead. They don't breathe. They're just there doing nothing. They are not breathing. They are not doing. They're just doing nothing. They're not thinking. They're nothing because they're turning back to dust, and the spirit goes back to God.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
We got some questions.
We got some questions.
Okay.
So we got an online question, and it says,
How many clean animals enter the ark?
How much clean animals?
how many clean animals enter the ark? We had an online question. They just told us.
So we have two more questions.
How many clean animals enter the ark?
So I love animals, and I have 3 big fat books about animals. And the truth I tell you, like, a lot of the animals were clean, and like it was like half and a quarter more were clean, and the rest of the quarter was dirty. Like pigs weren't clean. Kind of like pigs are the only ones, but there's a lot of types of species, and like lions weren't clean.
Okay.
And crocodiles, snakes, scorpions.
Yeah, but instead of a lot of those animals, there are only 2 animals. 2 of each animal.
Yeah, that go into the ark.
Yeah.
So 2 of the animals, clean or unclean, go into the animals, onto the ark.
Clean and unclean, but 2 of each like species, because like there's a frog species, there's a lot of like there's 430 types of dogs. So each of those dogs, they brought every out of 2. They did not bring the whole race in. They just brought 2 of each type of species.
So you're saying that they actually brought 2 of the unclean animals and 7 of the clean animals. You know, and it's actually very interesting, right? Because if they brought, right, if God actually allowed the animals to go in a set of 7, and then on the unclean only 2, why would you think that He will bring more that clean than the unclean?
I meant there was 2 in the unclean and 2 in the clean that go, but they got separated.
All right. So I think that the reason God actually allowed 7 clean animals to go into the ark, it's because the number 7 in the Bible has very significant. For example, there are 7 days in the week. There are 7 plagues. Also, there are 7 trumpets. There are 7 churches. There are 7 thunders. Right? And so this number 7 is very significant. There are 7 angels in the front of the throne of God. So the number 7 is a very significant for God, because 7 is completeness. So by when God is actually taking the clean animals, He's actually saying, I'm going to restore actually the earth again. And then it's the completeness of that, what He's going to do. Just like He's actually finalizing sin, right, at that time, right? When He's actually putting an end to the antediluvians, He's actually going to bring a new age. And that number 7 actually represents the cleanness of what He was going to bring.
Dinosaurs, they were not much, because what happened to them is that because they got 6, like the clean animals, they were still got like 7s, but the unclean, like the dinosaurs, they couldn't go many. And after the flood, people started killing them and hunting them. And how many of the clean animals went is that my dad here just answered that.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to add to that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Next question.
The next question.
How many days was Noah inside the ark before it started to rain?
Pretty good. That's a pretty good question.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
How many days were Noah in the ark before it actually started to rain? Actually, a pretty good question, because if you remember, God had told Noah a message, right? And that is in 120 days his spirit was gonna be taken away from the earth, and that is in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. But do you remember how many days was Noah going to be in the ark before it started raining?
I think it was 7 days approximately, I think.
Okay.
I heard that in the Bible.
Okay, pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's exactly what it was. It was 7 days.
7 days, and in those 7 days, I have something to say. The people were eating, drinking, and feasting and getting married, but when the flood came, they were all wiped out. And the angel closed the door, and like the door was like so heavy, like you have no idea. Like back in the days, men were really strong.
Okay.
So like in this day, like it would be like so heavy, like concrete, and then angel closed the door so it could never be opened.
Okay, pretty interesting. So we actually see that the Bible actually tells us that he took 7 of the clean animals. You see, that means completeness. And Noah spent 7 days before it started raining in the ark. You see a parallelism, right? 7, right? It's pretty interesting. You know, the 7 days, it's just like that in creation. It took 7 days for creation.
Yeah,
for
and
God
let
to
me tell
create,
you something
right?
interesting. In a month, the moon goes around. In a year, we go around the sun. But what is a week? The week is special because God sanctified it. That 7th day. 7 days God created the entire earth. Like the 7 of the clean animals and only the 2 of the unclean.
Pretty good, pretty good. Do we have any other questions that have come through that online?
How many colors are in the rainbow, and what do those colors?
That is great. Yeah. That's a very good question, actually.
Well, God really promised Noah, and how many colors, like where the rainbow comes from is when God promised Noah that he would never put a flood, and he blessed, and he said, go, separate, multiply the earth. So, how many colors are in the rainbow are 7, approximately.
That's very interesting.
7 colors.
Yeah, 7 of.
So,
yeah, 7 is a
so
very
why-
common number.
So why did God, when he completed that cleaning of the earth, why did he actually created a rainbow? Why did God create a
Because-
rainbow?
As a promise to say, remember,
Yeah.
whenever like it's finished raining and a rainbow comes, that's my promise to you that I'm never gonna flood the earth again. So he put that promise between you and me, like that's the sign of the promise. So whenever you see a rainbow, like they say that the little people go and at the end of the rainbow there's treasure, but really what's the meaning of that is that God put his he says whenever you see a rainbow, remember my promise.
Remember the promise. Remember the promise. That's pretty good. And the rainbows, when you see the rainbow, the question had to do with the colors, right? So what is the significance of the colors of the rainbow? Because how many rainbows are there, right? There can only be 2 rainbows or 1 rainbow? One rainbow. So there's 1 rainbow, right? It looks like an arc, right? It looks like that, right? Right? Isn't it interesting? The ark was actually built, and the ark is like this, right? The ark is like that, right? So they get inside and they were in there. But now God actually promised that was not going to rain, and now he actually selected a rainbow, and a rainbow is actually like an arc, like an upside down. It looks like an arc, saying that a promise that I am not going to destroy the earth again with water, but the last time he is going to purify it, like he did with the Noah's Ark. That this time how is he gonna purify the earth when Jesus comes back?
With brimstone and fire.
Brimstone and fire. What is the significance of that? The brimstone and the fire.
And I think that came from like Abraham and his nephew Lot.
Okay.
Like he wiped off the race with brimstone and fire and destroyed that evil people. So what he's gonna do now is he's gonna put brimstone and fire to put the end to everybody.
Yes. That's right.
And
That's
I
right.
think that's what it means. Like God's gonna destroy us, like destroy the people that are not obedient to him with brimstone and fire.
It's actually pretty interesting because we see that everything that God creates is beautiful, right? It's perfect. And in the rainbow, you can see from the rainbow not only the promise, but today people see the rainbow, and the first thing that they see in the rainbow, oh, look at that rainbow! It's so beautiful, right? Right? And when do you see rainbows? When do you typically see rainbows coming out?
After the rain.
After the rain. After the rain. So God put the rainbow after it had rain? Yes, that's exactly it. So every time we see a rainbow, it's supposed to be a remembrance of what?
Of God's
Flood.
promise.
Of the flood, right? God's
God's
promise. Yeah, God's promise. And what was that promise again?
That he would never ever flood the earth again.
Wow. That's amazing. So you don't have to be afraid when there's a huge thunder, right? Storm, right?
People find out the best.
Yeah,
So you don't-
because there was this question that I really that I didn't know, and it really like came to me that like if God promised he'll never ever flood the earth again, why is there floods?
Right. That's a pretty good question. And then you want to take an attempt to answer that?
Okay, so like God said he would never flood the entire earth, like because the big flood was not just a little river going down the stream. It was literally like water was popping out everywhere, and the great deeps burst, and the water and the rain was very heavy, and people had never seen rain until Noah's time, and it flooded the entire not like half the world, not the quarter of the world, the entire earth. So like he did it, like he said, I will never put a flood again. There's still floods, but not the giant big flood like in the ark.
So not global, right?
No, not global.
Not global.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good question, actually. I actually like that. Okay, do we have any other questions, or can we finish up for today? Let me see, check if we have any online questions. Do we have any online questions? No, apparently not.
Okay.
Pretty good. So we can see that in reality we actually have a purpose to be here. We have a goal to be here, and
I think we have more questions.
we have more questions.
Yeah.
We actually gonna leave some of these questions for next week.
Okay.
So we hope that you guys have enjoyed today's episode, and next week we'll continue with more
Bible truth.